At this moment, our intelligence and counterterrorism professionals do not have any specific and credible information about an attack on the homeland. That said, we have to be vigilant. Anyone trying to harm Americans need to know, they need to know that we're strong and that we're resilient, that we will not be terrorized. We've prevailed over much greater threats than this. We will prevail again.
Well, President Obama offering some pre-holiday assurances, his critics said platitudes, to the American people today, suggesting on a PR stop of sorts today at the Counterterrorism Center that the administration is doing everything it can to learn from the attacks in San Bernardino and Paris. But we did not hear much in the way of specifics. The president's critics raising doubts about the commitment and about Mr. Obama's visit to San Bernardino tomorrow, suggesting he's only making the stop because, conveniently, it is on the route to the First Family's annual trip to Hawaii. Charles Krauthammer is a Fox News contributor and author of the book Things That Matter, which is now out in paperback and would make a great Christmas present. Charles, it's great to see you. Wow, just the tone of those remarks, like, and we're making progress. I mean, is that meant to encourage us, to calm us?
You know, that's been true of just about every one of these. This is the second or the third mulligan at doing this. And his problem, in part, is the substance, because he's not offering anything new. But a large part of it is simply the tone. It is mechanical, like he's reading from the phone book. Some of them are like a hostage tape where he's, you know, he's being told he has to say this, and he's reading this. There's no passion. When he talks about Trayvon Martin, there's passion. Talks about climate change, so there's passion. When he talked about in Turkey, when he talked about the hard-heartedness of Republicans who won't receive refugees, he cares about that. He clearly is doing this and because he's been told he has to do it, and it's not working.
And the problem is, we're talking about something really important to the American people, which is keeping us safe from terrorism and whether we're winning the fight against ISIS. And his poll numbers after that Oval Office address he gave 4 days after we were attacked in San Bernardino dipped, and the American public said clearly, we are not impressed. 60% disapproved of his handling of ISIS after that. 57% said they disapprove of the management of overall foreign policy. And so now, as put in an article today, posted on Real Clear Politics by Richard Benedetto, he says the president's been forced to go on an upbeat confidence-building tour this week, making various stops to give that speech that we just ran an excerpt of.
Well, look, his problem is, I understand that he has a view of the Middle East where he doesn't want to involve us. He thinks that in the long run it'll be worse. I don't agree, but that's why he's not proposing anything new on the ground. That's why he's not going the John McCain route. Fine. But what he could be saying is we obviously have holes in the system by which we admit people into the country. For example, we have now discovered that we do not require our agents who do the interviews abroad to look into the social media.
To do a Google search.
Which is very simple. I'm going to fix that. As of today, I'm ordering that every agent, et cetera, et cetera. You could do that. You could offer at least a step or two to say, we understand there are problems with the vetting, and we're going to address them. He could have done that. Yep. He didn't. I don't understand why.
Well, you get the feeling in listening to the tone that he feels like it's teaspoons in the ocean. You know, this is a daunting task. And in that same article that I referenced, referred to him today as Lyndon B. Obama, saying he's sounding an awful lot like another president, wartime president, who was losing a war but had very similar messaging to what we're getting from this president. We've cut a little clip. Listen.
The terrible events in Paris were obviously a terrible and sickening setback. There has been progress being made.
We are inflicting greater losses than we're taking. Overall, we're making progress.
And the question is whether President Obama is suffering now from the same credibility gap that Lyndon B. Johnson suffered.
Well, the one parallel that struck me is in one of these speeches, Obama went through a list of all the ISIS leaders that we had killed and saying that we have attacked here and so many have been lost, have been killed. This is exactly the metric, the absurd metric that we use in the Vietnam War. It's called the body count. And our geniuses had decided that if the ratio was high enough, that would be a measure of whether we're winning the war. It turned out that when you're fighting insurgents, that never works. They will stay with their losses for a lot longer than we will, because it's not our homeland. We're abroad.